And we are now live. Here's the premiere. Here we go.
Showing one of the general manager of Fred Means Kia in Langhorne. I just wanted to take a minute to talk about Larry Feldman, Career Changers USA. Larry and I have been working together for about the last 12 years now. And anything I've ever needed as far as recruiting, training, Larry's been right there. Larry's got me salespeople, he's got me managers, he's got me technicians, even through the toughest times in the industry. And he is just the kind of guy who's going to tell you exactly what's on his mind. He's going to tell you exactly what he thinks. But Larry also has the expertise to back it up. When he was in the dealership world, he was a top performer. And that's really important to my staff, especially as it pertains to training. A lot of people can come in and teach out of a textbook, but Larry has real world experience dealing with customers, dealing with situations in dealerships that we go through on a daily basis and try to train on. But Larry's been through it, so he can really empathize with the people and tell you what's worked for him and maybe what way not to go. Larry is just always at a 10. I mean, his energy level is always up there. And I think people, they just love that and they feed off of it. He's not faking it. He is genuinely excited to come in and help you. He's excited to come in and help grow your business. And he's one of those people who just really enjoys seeing dealers succeed and have a lot of fun at the same time.
Life is about connection. Having a support system to lean on. And roads to endless possibility. At every turn, guiding the way, we are building the connections that move you.
So what would your dealership feel like if your entire sales staff was literally on fire, your sales and service staff? They were nonstop all over social media, completely dominating your marketplace. They could do it in 30 days or less and then continue their education to do it for an entire 6 months or a year. You literally would completely take over the entire marketplace and no one would be able to compete with you. And that's what we can do for you. So when you're walking around your community, whether you're at local restaurants or you're going to the gym, you don't want to be bothered? Fine, you won't be bothered. But a lot of people will walk up to you and say, oh my God, I love your social media. Your staff is amazing. We love what you're doing in the community. We want to come buy a car from you. We want to get an oil change at your dealership. Your community is absolutely going to love you. And it doesn't matter what platform you're on. You could be on TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all social media platforms. You will literally be all over the place. And not only will you have ads running, but your own staff is going to be promoting your brand and promoting themselves within the dealership and within the business. So it's like running an ad times 100-fold because your entire staff is participating in the process. I've traveled all over North America. I've trained Toyota. I've trained Nissan. I've been driving sales. I've been to Women in Auto. I get hired as a speaker for conferences at universities all over the country. And I can help change the trajectory of your dealership right now.
Good morning. So I got some books here. I thought it would make sense to start the year with a little bit of laughter. So what we've got here is Food from Jim, the comedian. I can't pronounce his last name very well. Laughter Therapy by Annette Goodhart, PhD, and You Deserve a Drink from Memory Heart. So go ahead, Jeff, with your disclaimer.
Well, to start off the year, our disclaimer is the views and opinions of those of our guests, and not necessarily that of the AutoHub show. We're not very controversial, but occasionally something pops out. So please do read it thoroughly so it gets us off the hook. Luckily enough, certain people aren't here today that get us in trouble.
Fantastic. This show is the first AutoHub show of the year for 2024. Welcome to the new year. And just in case you didn't know, we will be at NADA. We'll be around at the show, but we'll also be at the CDK booth. So if you are interested in being on the show live or being on our ambush interview, definitely reach out to the show. And let's get started.
Well, good morning, everybody, and a nice group of people here today. I would like to issue a welcome to our new sponsor, Ultra BDC, John Hyman. Well, John's not an official guest today. Of course, our sponsors are welcome to chime in at any time they would like. We also have Troy here for DDA. So thank you very much to everybody for joining us. And our guests today are, not in order of appointments or even what the heck, tuning in, is Matthew Groden, formerly of the Mothership, now of the great bearer of all knowledge automotive. Matt, please introduce yourself, say a quick hi, and thanks for being here.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, so, but yes, I can now officially say ex-Google. I haven't quite added that to LinkedIn yet, but I can add that to the resume. What do you want to know? I have said in many presentations and many public speaking events that I'm a bit of a great white buffalo, that I have now worked, now that we're in 2024, 30 years in digital. So from beginning to end of my entire career has been building websites, promoting websites, working in media, buying media, selling media, etc. So I still live and breathe that space. I try to stay on top of things. Still trying to, and I have many friends at Google who can help me with that. So I am now doing some other things. I'm looking at some teaching. I was mentioning before the show started, I'll be starting at the Automotive Business School of Canada, teaching on Thursday, and that I'm working with some other startups myself, and spending a lot of time trying to figure out what I'm going to be when I grow up, which it turns out maybe I'm never going to grow up. So, there you go.
And I'm 12 years old, so I know exactly what you're saying. Thanks for being here. Next, we have our good friend Wendy Reese from BDC Angels, because she's such an angel, coming to us from Surprise, Arizona. Can you introduce yourself, say hi, Happy New Year, and everything else? And I see Fred sitting there waiting with bated breath for you, what you have to say.
Hi, it's good to be with all of you. Happy New Year, everyone. Yeah, I'm Wendy Reeves with BDC Angels, and I'm a lifer in automotive and very passionate about BDCs, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome, thank you. And last but not least, for our scheduled guest is the man, the brains and brain trust that you may not appreciate. Tim Hayden joining us from Austin, Texas. He's on my screen above another Austinian, Steve Granger, but Steve's just visiting. But that's okay. He's always welcome to say. Tim, introduce yourself, please.
Thanks, Jeff. It's good to see everybody. Happy New Year. Happy 2024. Good to be here by all means. At Brain Trust since 2016, we've been helping brands across a number of different verticals get their data together, get it cleansed and structured so they can not only personalize experiences, but they can be AI ready and future ready for whatever's happening next. Obviously, the last year and what we're going to talk about a little bit today, I think, is that that's all changing, or let's just say it's accelerating right now because of artificial intelligence, that which we can't control, that's happening to us, and that which we can control, that which we build.
Well, thank you so much. I have to say that one nice thing about having data people here is to hear words like verticals. And, in the retail automotive industry, the only vertical that people have been talking about too much are Carvana showrooms like that. Before Ian hits everybody with the first question, my statement is my prediction is actually it's a question is, will we see AI vehicle deliveries in 2024? But don't ask that anybody. Ian.
What's the one thing in your mind that will be the topic of the year this year? Why don't we start with Mr. Tim, since we were talking to him first and last?
Well, I mean, I think it'll be, if we were playing, bingo right now, the AI square is going to get hit the most in the context of this call. And it will certainly be the thing that people talk about most this year. The funny thing is, it means something different for everybody else, just like digital transformation before it, just like mobile before that, and social before that. We're going to see lots of testing, lots of experimentation, but we're also going to see, I think, lots of people getting their hands slapped because the FTC and 13 U.S. states, I can't speak for Canada so much, but we got a lot of folks out there that are looking for where AI can go wrong and are going to go after folks who just aren't doing it right or have bad data governance in place.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. We've been doing some work in the U.S. market with Ford Motor Company, and there's some concerns about video recording, AI, transcoding, and what are you doing with that information in certain states, not all states, but it's definitely something that's interesting that I hadn't heard before. So I think as you look at the AI, but more importantly, the data piece for those who maybe aren't as AI centric or don't understand it as much as others. I think part of it is just, what is AI? What does that mean? But more importantly, what is not AI, but is claiming to be? So I think that's another whole discussion.
Interject for a second, Tim. You brought up AI, and when I was doing up my questions earlier, I tried to put fitness in without it looking tacky and writing, but perhaps some of the big dealer groups that they're going to have a chief AI officer is John Connor. Now, will anybody get that?
Yeah.
So
not his mom.
I think his mom was momming until John became a target.
So Matthew, what do you think? I mean, Google obviously is in that game, but what do you think in terms of what will be the big thing this year?
I mean, I maybe I purposefully didn't choose AI. I think there's no escaping AI. I think that it's now a technology, a capability, a set of tools that are going to be present for the foreseeable future. And I expected on that particular front to kind of riff on what Tim was saying, that I think we're going to see things we didn't expect in 2024. I think it's going to be the year of revelation on a lot of capabilities that because we are thus far really just scratching the surface of what can be done, what could be done, and a lot more is coming. I think if you were going to take a big step back and a giant, and I kind of had two or three things that I thought were the answer to this question around, I don't have a one thing, but I think the one thing in my mind that will be the topic of the year that will equally be inescapable will be Chinese OEMs.
Interesting.
That the continued surprise of their capabilities, the continued expansion of brands like BYD, like Geely, like NIO, the technology capabilities that those brands are going to bring to market are going to continue to surprise, especially our OEM friends, I think, over 2024. But I actually think the story, like the headline story, if we were going to say what is the real, because that's already happening. Like that's actually a 2023 thing. The 2024 thing is that phone companies become car companies. And
Interesting.
So the first who's kind of stepped up in a more meaningful way, and again, there have been many signals, many indications of this along the way, it was the Chinese phone manufacturer Xiaomi, who now has very bold claim that they want to be one of the top 5 OEMs on the planet. Right. They don't even have a vehicle for sale yet. But if you look at what they are doing, you look at what Huawei demoed at the Munich Auto Show last year, you look at the work that Foxconn is doing in their own right and for other OEMs, and you kind of maybe anticipate that by the end of this year, Apple could actually demonstrate the Apple Car, the Project Titan that they've been working on for a number of years. I think when we look back at 2024 will be the year that phone companies became car companies.
Interesting. Phone companies becoming car. I mean, a BYD, 100% agree. Yeah, phone companies. I mean, Apple, I thought that was kind of on the down low, but that's very interesting. Wendy, what do you think?
I'm going to keep the same stance I've had all year. I absolutely.
Since last week?
Okay, but I'm going to go for so let's move it from a bingo game to Jeopardy. And daily double that gets my vote is the human side of AI. I also think that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to redress products that have been around forever and ever. I mean, look at even things like I have a number of people that are close with the Conversica brand, and I remember working Conversica leads back in Milwaukee in like probably 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
And it's basically the same product, but now they're calling it AI. I think that all the way back to Active Engage, various website chats, et cetera, now they're calling it AI. I think you have to examine carefully what the opportunities and what the offerings are out there. And I don't think we have April on the call today, but one thing that we all have to be very careful about is making sure that whatever the AI is that we plan to engage with or employ in our businesses, that it's actually solving a pain point that exists in that specific dealership. And then to Tim's point about data governance, et cetera, you got to make sure you got your house in order and you got somebody looking at what's going out and what's coming in so that you're compliant, so that if you go in, for example, people are going to try to get you to white label their products that are chat respondent, that are whatever for training and such. Well, make sure that you know the legitimacy and the quality of whoever's content is going into that AI bot. So for me, that's the 3, I'd say, and it all is encapsulated in one thing, the human side of AI for my vote.
Well, it's funny. I was talking to a company that happens to be in the bath fitting side of the business. They have about 1,000 dealers in the US market. One of the other clients that I talked to was a company that does moving services, similar to how you get a mortgage payment or a credit card payment. They do moving services. Well, they have a chat, but that chat is actually handled by people. And that has had a dramatic impact on the conversion because it's a person. So I think it's really interesting when you're competing those different technologies and saying, okay, yeah, maybe chat's part of that. Not to say anything good or bad about chat, but what kind of experience is that customer getting? And that's kind of what I think is going to be the big thing this year is how am I using technology, people, and the internet, maybe mobile, maybe phones, whatever, to create that better experience to compete with Amazon and Carvana and Tesla and whoever. How can I do that as a dealer? And more importantly, what are the best tools to do that with? I think that's what I see. Anyone else on the panel want to chime in on what's the one thing you think this year?
I could chime in real quick here,
yeah.
Guys. And I just want to say hi, everyone, and Happy New Year. Wendy's comments were especially interesting to me. My company, BDC, we've been doing like outsourced appointment setting BDC stuff for 11 years now with car dealerships, and I'm an old school kind of phone sales guy myself. And we've just basically done until 6 months ago, all we did was book appointments for people. I have a virtual calling team and all that, and booking appointments for showrooms. And in the last 6 months, my company's actually partnered up with Conversica. So my company became a Conversica reseller. If you go to ultrabdc.com, you'll see it's powered by Conversica. It's a whole new level for the company in terms of being able to work work large databases and have like the AI get in there and kind of triage things, and then send through the hot leads, the engaged leads. And what's really interesting is I really relate to what Wendy was saying, because my whole theme has been AI, but you need that human touch. You need to have that you need to have that warmth as well as that computing power to really find that combination of technology and the human touch to deliver the best results. So I thought that was an interesting kind of a comment about where Conversica was coming from. And it's true, the reason we went with them as a partner as opposed to other AI providers is because they're like the OG AI company that's a big brand, well known and really well established within automotive. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thanks. Troy, you want to have a comment on the CDK front?
Yeah, as far as what's going on in 2024 or what the big thing in 2024 is.
Yeah. I mean, I know you guys are a tech company, so I figured you might have a thought.
Apparently. I'm going to say that it is really, gosh, I just don't want to beat the whole AI thing to death, but it is really starting to bridge the gap between a lot of things that are redundant processes where there's a propensity for human error. That is where the biggest opportunity is. But folks that are operating human-led BDCs and making phone calls, that's never going away. And I think our customers and our customers are dealers, so our customers are smart enough to know that they'd rather speak to a human being. And so I don't think that this is the year that AI is going to deliver a car. But I do think that this is the year we're going to start to see some redundant processes start to get replaced by AI. And it could be as simple as filling a parts order. It could be as simple as, we're confirming an appointment, but the things that don't require human intervention need.
Interesting.
One thing that I wanted to, I'll chime in.
Chime in?
Tim, I don't know. I'll chime in. And yes, identifying as a 12-year-old and making jokes about John Connor, etc. I do believe that we're in a year where we're going to have a bit of an uprising against AI by the humans, because I'm starting to see a lot of not pushback, but so much comments about it and chat. We had automated chat for a long time. That was cool. We could get a hold of people because our salespeople they don't handle leads, but this is going to handle leads. Rook AI was a sponsor a year before last, and phenomenal technology. And in the end, after we went through the whole thing and all the demonstrations of it, in the end, they still come up with, would you like to speak to a human? So I do think this year, while we'll see a huge growth of AI, I do think we're going to see a huge other. And I think companies are going to wake up a little bit. Being a used car dealer, we deal with one of the big auctions. And every time we phone support, I hate to say it, stereotypical, it's somebody in the Philippines. They really, our lot is in Aldergrove, British Columbia. That's sort of like with Moses Lake, Idaho, right? Where the heck is that? And you talk to them and they're going, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to be snide and make accents and the favorite things of anything, but great, we'll get somebody to handle it. And we get a phone call from a transporter in like Southern Ontario, which is, 1,000 miles away. So, I do think that we're going to get better on both. And I think AI will make humans better. And hopefully humans will stop AI from taking over, because I'm scared to death of getting into a Waymo in some city and then not letting me out because I haven't tipped them yet. So moving along to our next question.
We had a comment, Jeff, from A to Z, Mr. Doug. The human touch can never be discounted.
I don't know about that. By the way, I do have to say, speaking of human touch, I read an article today that AI is starting to negatively affect the adult film industry. So
Wow. And a shout out to Dave Jackson. I bought a new vehicle last week, and Dave took really good care of me, just so you know.
I'm sorry.
Shout out to Dave Jackson, Chrysler dealer here locally where I live. If you're looking for a Chrysler product, he helped me out with my most recent purchase of a Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Dave, you're going to get a bill for the sponsorship. So moving right along, assuming your hypothesis is true, first of the year, my tongue gets tied. What will you say, because on December 6th, 2024, we're going to have a revisit of this show. What will you say, putting your crystal ball on, what will you say was the biggest thing that happened to the car business of this year? Because I'm going to hold you to this one. I'm already
All right. Well, let's talk EVs for a second. You know, I think there's been a whole lot of statistically driven narratives out there about how EV sales are dissipating, right? That they plateaued at some point over the last 90 days, which the best explanations that I could see from Laura McDonald and a few other folks that watch this daily is that, you know, it's the early adopters have all got an EV in their garage or in their driveway already. The early adopters, right? The folks that were also the first people to go buy an iPhone back in 2007 and 8, right? You know, I mean, that's the jam. So I'll go and throw a percentage out there that the biggest dealer groups in the country will realize that 10% of their sales this year were EVs. I think there's no going back on that either. But that's they're going to be the ones who get really smart about customer relationships rather than just VIN intelligence and top of the funnel marketing metrics. They're the ones that are going to really understand that there's an opportunity here to really be a part of helping people in their life. And, you know, there's the rest of the ecosystem in terms of charging networks and maintenance of charging networks and all of that is going to figure its way out in many parts of the country, many parts of North America for the purposes of this show by the end of this year. So I think with that, we'll see, for the most part, 1 in 10 cars that is sold brand new this year will be an EV.
I can't say I disagree with that one, actually. Wendy, what do you think? What will you say December 6th really happened this year?
I'd like to be able to say that the combination of humans and AI have resulted in a much improved customer experience. That's what I'd like to be able to say. I'm going to stick in the human side of AI corner here.
Perfect. Well, I'm recording this here. It might be typing skills, I actually agree with that one as well, because as I said earlier, I think, they'll grow to make each other better. I would like to think. And so next, Matt Groden, this is going to be deep.
Well, I'm just going to say I was right. What do you mean? It's easy. I'll just look back at the year and I'll go, see, I was right. I think it all kind of comes together, right? Peter made an interesting comment in the chat, right? That digital retailing will become more than lead gen. And I think the thing that, and there was a comment earlier and I didn't say anything, but around, at some point we will always be answering phones. I think there's a certain element of truth to that the phone will always need to be answered. But I also think that over time, as those digital retailing platforms become more real, as that transaction becomes more real, and it comes in partnership or in conjunction with our transition to EVs, that we're just going to sell more vehicles online. And so what that will mean is the lead doesn't exist in that context, right? It's no longer a lead, it's an actual sale from tip to nuts. I don't need to go to, the Bay website, go to a toaster and say, I'd like to express interest in this toaster. I just buy the toaster. So I think there's an inevitability to that. I think it's going to take time, and that may not be the story of 2024. I think, what will be interesting over the course of this year is we'll tracking the progress of Chinese OEMs around the world. We will not see them on the ground in North America in really meaningful ways. But I think we'll see a lot of their component parts show up in other OEM vehicles, because pretty much every one of those brands has a partnership with an existing incumbent OEM, right? So although, we may not see outside of Geely, and because of their footprint with, Volvo and Polestar, those we will see, but others will take a little bit more time. I think that it looks like the battleground for Chinese vehicles in North America is in Mexico. And but I also do think we'll look back, like we may even see later this week at CES, a lot of the things around, phone companies becoming car companies when Honda announces what it's actually produced with Sony, like what is, yeah. So I think that the reality of the software-defined vehicle becomes a lot more real and a lot more tangible, and that a lot of the players change on the field. And this is the year that a lot of that begins to reveal itself.
Well, that's real quick, I just want to add to that. I think Ian called you Grouty earlier. Can I call you Grouty?
Call me Grouty, everyone's
it was in 2023 that Volvo took their entire fleet, and it wasn't Android Auto, but it was Google that was the operating system for the vehicle. This notion of phone companies becoming car companies, and you took the words right out of my mouth, because it was 4 years ago that I first took photos of Sony prototypes on the floor of CES, right? What we're going to see, and we've danced around it, nobody's called it out right quick, but Amazon and the Koreans right now with what they're doing. Amazon's not a phone company, but Amazon's right behind Apple TV in terms of how people are getting their news and watching everything on their televisions at least. TikTok has that esteemed title on our phones here in the United States. But at the end of the day, we're going to see more and more of how this move to what I'll call singularity, right? And we won't go into that. But why should I, as the car is becoming a consumer electronic, why should it not be in the same platform ecosystem as everything else I do in my home, in my office, and in my pocket? And then the two things that'll happen this year, you might even just play the recording back on December 5th to get this too, but Ferret from Apple and Gemini from Google are the two things that will rattle all of business fundamentally this year. Those are the two things that will all of a sudden pop up and be in our pockets and on our devices and be with us all the time. And it will disrupt search. It will disrupt how we actually spend time staring at screens. The interfaces will change. We'll use our voice more. People have been talking about this for a long time. Why would we not want to have that fluidly be the same thing that happens with our vehicles? Therefore, what's happening with phone companies becoming car companies, it's happening around us. It's happening to us.
Yeah, Tim, I agree. I think the ecosystem play is a big one, and so this is where this becomes real in terms of people's understanding and use of technology in their homes and in their lives. And one of the things that that when you look at a company like a Sony or a Samsung or a Xiaomi or an Apple, is really they're already enormous companies, right? And this is a Scott Galloway trope around, if they're looking to grow their market share and they want to get into a new device category, the only device category that really remains for them get into is the automobile, right? And that's when you're a $2 trillion company like Apple and you're looking for something else that could grow and add another, $500 billion to that. The only outside of healthcare, which it doesn't seem like Apple's particularly interested in,
yet.
there are only a couple of industries they could tap into, and one of them is automotive. I will do a variation on a theme for you, though, on the Amazon front. And I guess I myself am guilty of like going down we're selling cars online, we're selling cars online, we're selling cars online too much. So I'm a little more reserved about jumping in on that. But I believe that Amazon is pretty simple in its machinations, in that everything it does is about margin, and that everything it's doing with Hyundai is just a dress rehearsal for when they start selling Rivians online. That they too have done the math and are like, okay, what are the other vertical areas we can get in on? What are the other places where we can be servicing a specific need that our consumer has? And they have, the $1.2 billion investment in Rivian already. So I think, come 2025, the 2025 prediction might be we'll start to see, once Rivian's production capability gets to a point where this makes sense, they'll be able to sell Rivians online as well.
Well, I look at that like, I think the company is Car Saver, which does work with, I think they do work with Walmart, and they may also do work with Costco. I'm not sure. But I think there's got to be other companies, whether it be Apple or Amazon or others, going, okay, I have this mass customer base that always buys toasters, to use your thing, from me. Why could I not recommend tires and cars? Like, why could I not do that? Now, from a dealer's perspective, and I was talking to Dave about this when I picked up my car, we were talking a little bit about hybrids and electric. What do you think, Dave? I mean, you're obviously dealing with the manufacturer a lot. What do you think? I mean, obviously there's integration with phones already, but what do you think about where this is going to go?
I'm still shocked. It's the longest I've ever heard Growdy speak without swearing.
It's being recorded, Dave.
Everything else. No, I've always enjoyed listening to Growdy. He's very insightful on what's coming and what's going on. But I also think, like, as a dealer, I understand the Amazons of the world and the Apples and like you said, the Amazon, it's just a dress rehearsal for Rivian. I get all that, but we still have, like, this is all
businesses. Yeah.
This is all coming, but we also have the now. Okay. And I know you talk, buying a car is like buying a toaster, which is very, very true. Okay. But you still have to service the car. You still have to get parts for the car. I get they'll go through Amazon. Why would OEMs have these big warehouses for parts when they can use Amazon's warehouse structure? But you're still going to have to get the car fixed, and we still have to live in the now. So from a dealer perspective, we have to find that balance. Is it 80% now, 20% future? Is it 70-30? That's the, yes, the electrification is coming. I think we're obviously going to see more hybrid than electric. Different areas of the country are going to see different things. I know in BC, you're going to have stricter mandates. BC, Quebec. I mean, Alberta, we have our premier telling everybody, go buy your gas car now because there's not going to be any. So somewhere in this whole mess, we have to find a balance.
There is, absolutely. And
that's the thing as a dealer that you struggle with. What is the balance? Like you said, lots of dealers have got EVs backed up or hybrids or whatever you want to call them, and they can't get rid of them. I believe it comes down to one thing and one thing only. It's price, it's price, it's price.
You're not wrong, right? Like I saw in my days at Google, in the near decades worth of research, the number one, number two decision point for the consumer on where they shop, where they buy is, what am I going to pay and do you have it in stock, right? So it's an exciting year for Stellantis though, because you've got 5 EVs coming in 18 months. You've got the not necessarily in all the brands that you sell, but Fiat back in market. You've got the EV charger on deck. You've got for the last year, Alfa Romeo, the EV Wagoneer, EV Denali, Ram Revolution. So it's an exciting time, but I think you're right. And it is, I'm not unaware or ignorant of the fact that there is still an operational business that needs to take place and that the focus for you day to day can't be taken away from that. I think my only goal when I'm presenting and when I'm using that toaster narrative, which I don't think anyone else on the screen has actually heard the entirety of, is really that it's kind of you need to live in both worlds at the same time, and that you need to be preparing yourself for a different caliber of competitor, right? Like that and again, that may not be a threat to you today, but that will be a threat to you in over the next 5 years. So.
You have to say something.
Hey, Growdy, I think I have it's Larry. I think I have a counterpoint and maybe an answer to Dave. I think the answer is to be completely in the here while we prepare for the future.
Yeah.
Because as we already saw with the Canadian government and the United States government, they lost their mind and said, forget about gas. Everything's going to be electric. Don't worry about the infrastructure and the rest of it. It'll all work itself out. Because everybody knows government's always great at fixing everything. If we completely focus on getting our people better, getting ourselves better, communicating better, I even think that'll help lead us to prepare for the future. Because if you can't handle what's happening now, how the hell are you going to handle what's coming if you're not aware of it, not dialed in? So I think, Dave, the worst mistake you can make is not even worry about that. Dave, it's the old world car guys. It's the old analogy of the guy that says, you want to take it up? No, I'm waiting for my customer. He waits all day. The guy never shows up until other ups come. You focus on now. We may not be alive tomorrow, and you prepare as intelligently as you can. Okay? And if there's any problems with anybody on the line, call me and Tim Hayden. Call me first. After you're good and confused, Tim can fix you. They call you Rowdy. They call me Rowdy. I just don't have the G.
Love you, Larry.
Was that a gratuitous plug?
Well placed.
Well, we haven't heard anything from Doug, from Steven or Russell. Maybe they want to had some thoughts on here. I don't know if anyone wants to add a few thoughts.
Sure, I'll chime in on the talking points for December 6th. What's going to happen this year? AI and EV. Those are probably the two biggest ones. I think I'd have to double check. So I'm just going to say this softly: 37% of people that represent their companies out there as being AI is really automated intelligence, not artificial intelligence. There's obviously two different kinds out there. So we have to be really careful. There's going to be a lot of people signing up for AI stuff to solve problems that they think is going to be the solution. And I think that technology to accelerate momentum works fine, but technology to create something you don't have is an accident and cancellation waiting to happen for these dealers that sign up for that kind of stuff. And certainly the human side with what Wendy talked about and referencing what Tim talked about. I'm going to kind of agree with the 10% on the EV side. Certainly in different parts of the country. My thoughts on that: I've done a lot of research. The infrastructure and the power grid. We have 3 of them. That's it. It's just not set up. It was set up for the 60s and 70s. It's not set up for the 2025s. It's just not. And I think there's going to be a lot of breakdown there. I think even since the Inflation Reduction Act, et cetera, just to keep up with some of the mandates that some of these governors have thrown out there in 12 or 13 states, where they're supposed to be by 2035, they would have to be installing 475 chargers a day just to keep up with that. And to my knowledge, to date, almost 1 year later, there hasn't been a single charger installed. Could be wrong, so someone will correct me. So we have a lot of building to do. I'm not opposed to EV. I would certainly entertain that. But, it's a learn. It's like what, Larry was saying. Let's focus on today. And I think with anything, I'm embracing and excited about AI. I spend a few minutes every day absorbing and learning as much as I can. And I think that a lot of us in the room probably do that, which in a year puts us anywhere from 90 to 100 plus hours of learning as much as we can about AI. And that probably puts most of us in the top 5% globally of what people even know about AI. It's a lot. There's no question about it. But I think it's the future. It's evolving fast, faster than we can even imagine. And there's going to be some tremendous learning curves. But I think it's going to be something that helps all of us in the near future instead of the naysayers that say that it's going to take over the world and eliminate all of our jobs, et cetera, et cetera. I guess it's possible, but that's, just thought I'd throw my 2 cents in there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just jump in on that?
Of course you can, Peter.
Okay, so I'm going to address the AI first. AI is to accelerate and amplify the human connection to our positioning within the dealership, and it will do so in the next 18 to 24 months. We will see a dramatic change. Tim and I have talked about this ad nauseum on how the data point on everything is going to, the data is going to be the new currency, and we're going to be able to change our directions in dealerships on how we retain customers through data. That is going to be amplified through AI better than anything. As per the EV revolution and what is going on, I was an early adopter of EV back in 2014. I think I got my first Tesla. So I've had a number of EVs and have since returned back to ICE and hybrids, knowing the challenges that I've come across. That was my purpose. I think one of the issues with the car business today is we do not differentiate hybrids, PHEVs, and BEVs out as individual segments, and therefore the actual statistics are being manipulated on both sides of the platform for ICE and for BEVs. So it's a challenge. If we knew the actual numbers, we could actually address it better and be more adapt to fulfilling the needs of our consumers.
Yeah, I think the future is options. I agree with you 100%.
Peter, are you sure that data will be the new currency? Because that might slow down my wife's spending. I'm very excited.
The data is going to be your credit card statement.
So can I chime in here?
Yeah.
So I've been listening to all these smart people, and obviously you're a hell of a lot smarter than I, especially when it comes to technology. And I'm listening to the whole thing, and my conclusion was, and you asked for like a prediction for 2024. This is a huge, huge opportunity for our industry. I think that, and I kind of wrote it in the comments, the ability for the convergence of technology and the human is now going to become so powerful that we really, really ultimately have the opportunity to finally give customers what they want, which is a better experience. Someone mentioned Amazon. Look, Amazon, we know how they operate. They keep a chair at every board meeting that's empty to represent the consumer. They start with the consumer and work backwards. Maybe their entrance, maybe all of this technology finally gives, I think 2024 is going to be the year of the consumer. I think they're really going to finally be able to tap into everything that's happening and the preponderance of inventory and the selection, and really it could be a great year for them. So I guess when I boil it all down, that would be my conclusion.
I celebrate that, Doug.
I thought, I've been to, I don't know how many different seminars and NADAs and meetings and and lots of times, you get guys come up and they do their presentation and all the dealers say, well, this stuff all works. Why are you telling all of us this? And I remember one particular fellow saying, because you're not going to do it. He says, you're too lazy. Like, you're just not going to do it. And he's right. We're not. And that's where the opportunity for you guys comes into play, because we're going to pay. I remember back in the 90s, the late 90s, 98, 99, when I put my vehicles online, I paid somebody to come out once every 2 weeks, and they took some pictures of my cars, and then they miraculously appeared online. And it was like, wow, how does that happen? And I can't believe to this day there's still people that pay somebody to come out once a week and take pictures for their website. So, I think the evolution, the change is coming. It's coming quicker. But I don't think you're going to have individual dealers doing this. They're going to pay people to do this stuff. Okay. I was at a seminar. Okay, and Brad, you're familiar with this book. It's Google Analytics by George Nenny. Okay. So I thought, hey, I'll read this. I got about page half. There. Okay. Okay. I haven't got a clue. So you can give me all this shit, but it doesn't mean anything. You know, like it just means nothing. Okay. And that's where, you know, who are we gonna hire to do this? You know, like I mean, you know, you think about it, we pay for a CRM, we buy this CRM for our business to do a salesman's job. You know, like the salesman should automatically do that. So it's whether it's AI, whatever it is, we still have to do the basic fundamentals of the job. Okay. We talked about electrification and how it's not going to work and everything else. I was at a meeting and the guy raised a really good point. He said, Henry Ford started building cars 5 days a week, 24 hours a day, pumping these things down the production line. And there's two major things missing in the world: gas stations and roads. It kind of worked out okay for him. Right? So, I mean, I remember my first cell phone was in a briefcase, you know, and I think it was like $900 a month to make like 6 phone calls, and then you have to charge the thing up overnight. Okay, now I've got this little app, and I throw my phone on there, and it charges it. Okay, like things change, and everybody's making these arguments based on what they know on stuff they haven't got a clue on, right? And I just think the opportunity for you guys is there. Sorry?
We always hate what we don't know. We always hate change. You commented about Henry Ford, and they didn't have gas stations or roads, and I'm sure there were guys sitting at the bar with the horses tied up on the little thing in front after they threw the rein on there. Oh, this isn't going to last. They're loud, they're noisy, and they're not as reliable as my car.
Right. And their AutoHub show, the guy had a cape and a flash, and he put it through the group and sent it out on a newsletter.
No,
Carrier pigeon. Carrier pigeon.
That's it, carrier pigeon. That's it. You know.
Hey, Dave, but Henry Ford's also the guy that raised everybody's wages. And when all the business owners complained, he said, I want them to be able to afford the cars they're building. So
well, Larry, we haven't raised our wages either, you know, like, I mean,
that's why I only talk to you via
I mean, my goodness, like, I mean, you know, they talk.
Hey, Dave, I want it on the record that you took that incredibly well-written Google Analytics and threw it away.
There you go. Well, I knew what I was listening to there, Larry. We're old guys. I knew what I was listening to there, you know?
That's Tim Hayden, 3 chords. Chuck Berry still works. Google Analytics is a maybe.
For the record, I want it to be noted that we have the gentleman in the minion tie talking to the man with the card printed sofa.
The moral should always be take your customer more seriously than you take yourself. It's hard to argue with somebody when they're smiling.
Yep, right. You know what? You can have the best party in the world. You know, you can have a party and you can have all your friends over and people, and you can have a great party. You got to get them there. Okay, and that's what we need people like yourself for. Is
but Dave, wait a minute. The best way to get people at a party, and I'm not kidding, is to call them up and say, "Man, coming over, we're going to have fun." So with all the analytics and all the technical stuff, you still can't underestimate the power of people and being sociable and reaching out to people. I mean,
you still have to have some people at your party you don't like.
Guys, you still have a CD player? What the? I don't have a CD player to play.
Yeah, and we know that
I played it on before my computer. That's the only place that still has a CD drive in it.
Computer.
Hey, Grant, as soon as you hang up, me and Dave are going to listen to some Otis Redding. So to hell with you.
On the top of your party analogy, guys, you're right, Larry, the best way to get people to your party is to call them, but you also have to be known as a person who has a good party. And if the dealer doesn't have that reputation, no matter what you have, they're still not coming. So even if you had to call all your friends, Larry.
But Doug, to your point, how many dealers, Doug, I'm in dealers all over the country. I'm in Florida right now, so I was a little late getting on. They all talk a great game. We're all about our customers and we're happy, but it still comes down to the disconnection of what they say and what they do. And that's why I don't think you can underestimate the power of a salesman. I became a partner at the store I was at because I didn't want to hear it was slow. I don't want to hear what was going on. I acted like there was no advertising. And the mentality we have to get back is we gotta realize how important each customer is and what an annuity each customer is, because they don't live in a vacuum. They can tell a ton of people.
Yeah, I mean, I put up a post this morning on brand of car, and a dealer, and a former dealer chimed in. He was a former Subaru Toyota dealer. He owned a dealership. He wanted to buy a Toyota, went to a Toyota dealer. The dealer mistreated him, so he ended up going somewhere else and buying a completely different brand. And he's building a dealership.
Everybody that buys a different brand feels they're mistreated. Right? I mean, nobody buys something where they don't feel mistreated. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean that's why people are going to buy cars from Amazon, because they like the process. It was easier. It was this. It was that. It was this. So as a dealer, why can't we make that process the exact same way?
Right.
We can.
Exactly. And that's the part.
But we still need to get that customer to come to us.
Yep.
Like to find us, and that's where our AI comes in and everything else, to get that customer to come to our site, to come to our stores, to want to do business, you know, or to even not even to want to do business, to give us the opportunity to do business.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, you said it best earlier. You said it best earlier that the CRM has over automated what the salesperson should be doing, right? And it's taken that human part of it out. And to Wendy's point earlier about getting your house in order, this is what this growing category of customer data platforms, master data management platforms is meant to do, to wake up your dark data, to be able to bring all of your data into one place and build records that help you understand. To Doug's point, I'm going to try to tap everybody's head when I walk around the circle here. But to Doug's point about building a lasting relationship, to Larry's point about annuities, right? You've got to not just be a great doorman and see who's been at Auto Trader and then come to your website to build and price something. You've got to dig in to the darkest corners of the data you already have today and use AI to do it, to be able to wake up and understand where your most valuable customers are, because they're not the ones that are just knocking right now. That is not the case. So
Tim, think about, I don't mean to be rude, think about how many dealerships, and I'm everywhere, they don't go into the service department regularly. They don't get back to see who they didn't sell or who they sold and who might have a recommendation or referral. I mean, this stuff is staring us in. This is like two people crawling through the desert when their plane crashed and they see an oasis and says, I don't like that oasis. Let's crawl and find another one.
Well, that's
We're running out of time here. Nobody's made the prediction yet that in 2024, our salespeople will enter data into the CRM and will actually read it, and that our service departments will actually feel like they are part of the entire process to sell cars, to get the circle, which came first, the chicken or the egg. We know it started with Henry Ford building a car, but eventually for Henry to sell more cars, he needed a service department.
And that someone will answer the phone?
Yeah.
Well, that's just his premise. I made the car.
Press one, press two.
Yes. And if you are looking for a way to engage customers online, definitely check out our sponsor, vidcalls.com. They're one of our sponsors for the season. And also a thought from Stephen Apicella. An opportunity for immense growth exists when we embrace both human intelligence, artificial intelligence together. It's both where we reach greater heights. Some is true for in-person, digital retailing. Both together, we create better engagements. And then the last comment he had, Amazon is $1 trillion valued company because they've harnessed the often overlooked strength of one unified customer experience. So definitely check that out. Any final thoughts?
Prediction for 2024.
Yeah.
Pardon?
What's your prediction?
From Wendy for a little bit.
Very
Wendy,
insightful.
Just final thoughts?
Robbie's very insightful. What's his thought?
Who are you asking, Dave?
That's
Me?
You.
Final thought?
We can hear
Okay,
you.
gosh, final thought. Hold on tight, it's gonna be a bumpy ride.
Pretty much right on, Wendy.
Exactly. Tim and Matt, any final thoughts?
I don't think that people, Dave, we can talk later.
Great, everybody. Thank you so much. What a great show. Dave, good to see you. Thank you for taking care of my little buddy Ian.
Always.
Want to know where.
As always, thank you, Ian.
Yeah.
He did ask me a question though, and he's really a little embarrassed because he's a car guy. How does he plug in his car to his new Jeep to charge it? Oh, he got 4X4. Sorry. Just kidding. Thank you all the best. We have a new trailing video to show you, and we're looking forward to it. Thank you, John, for joining us. Thanks everybody for chiming in, and we will see you next week.
Yep, we will have a new exit video next week. So this is the same one this week, but next week it'll be new. And thanks very much for all the sponsors, for all the support, and of course for everyone else. Have yourself a great week. Here we go.
Oh la la. What?
Thanks for joining us. It was a great show, and follow us anywhere you would like on your favorite podcast, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and of course on our YouTube, or subscribe to our own channel.